Hello. I see there are people there. Yay. This is the first time I've done YouTube live. So, yeah, it's learning a new thing. If you have any questions or queries or anything at all, really, then just pop it in the chat box. And if you would like to, I've just realised I haven't switched my phone onto silent. One moment, because you can guarantee someone will ring then. And if you would like to like this just under the video on YouTube, I am told that's really helpful for me. So can I reposition this? I feel like I'm looking down at the screen a bit. So we'll just give it another minute or two to see if anyone else is going to join. And yeah, please pop any questions in the box. Let's see if we can switch. Can we get rid of that box? Ooh. No, let's not do that then. Okay. If not, I'm just going to talk about what's in the book. And until anyone asks a question, feel free to ask any question about any health issue that you have going on, and hopefully I can help in some way with that. And yeah, if not, well, and at any point during this call, you can do that. Just drop the question in the chat box. I think you can like and love and do all the other weird and wonderful things on here too. So yeah, today is a celebration of this book. This is my 7th book. This is some of the that way. This is some of the others that I've written here. This is my first book that really talks about moving from plant-based to animal-based. A lot of my other books were plant-based, but that's not just what this book is about. This book is called The Thriving Guide, and it is about from moving from surviving to thriving in this crazy ass world. And it's I want to say it's going to sound a bit dramatic. It's a bit of a love story as in it's kind of really made me fall back in love again with nutrition and health and how we fuel ourselves, and that's not just through food and all these sorts of things. And I feel very passionately about it all again. And I've been doing this health coaching, nutrition stuff for quite a long time now. I don't know, 13, 14 years or something. I can't remember exactly when. So this is a bit about all of that, but also really about how to simplify, how to be more natural, how to live more seasonally, more locally, and like I said, how to fuel ourselves in a much more natural way. That's food, that's thoughts, that's environment, that's earth, water, light, because they're all just as important. I have a question. Hi, Faith. I'm having reoccurring E. coli UTIs. Any advice on how to prevent them? I have kidney stones. Yeah, so the kidney stones are definitely, almost certainly, not definitely, from oxalate. So first off, just kind of reducing oxalates quite a lot will be helpful with minimizing and hopefully letting go of the kidney stones. It depends what is fueling the UTIs. It depends what's going on there. It can be something very simple like hormonal changes and things like that, or it could be medications. It could be the same as what you get with the digestive system, where the membrane, or whatever it's called, I can't remember the correct word for that, but where the lining of the digestive system thins and lets things through. Well, this can also happen in other parts of the body, that it thins and we get problems that way as well. So I would be looking at the meds I was on. I'd be looking at maybe taking some supplements that can thicken the lining, considering things that you're eating that thin the lining, particularly if you've also got digestive problems. So things that would thin are things that thin in your food. So when we put things in the food that are thinning or that are thickening, well, that's happening within your body. So if you're using a lot of kind of thickeners and stuff, you might find that you get a bit bunged up and things are a bit thicker in the body. If you're using a lot of thin things, it's a tongue twister, that are thinning, then you also might find that that's a problem as well. So, making sure that you're eating clean food that doesn't have weird and wonderful preservatives and thickeners and thinners and all this other stuff. Making sure that your food is as clean as possible, so that you're not accidentally taking or consuming something that is actually creating more of a problem. But yeah, definitely kind of looking at probiotics as well, but not just normal probiotics, like spore probiotics, because they make their way to where they need to be in the body, and a lot of normal probiotics don't. Some do, but a lot don't. So considering these spore probiotics that can seem expensive initially, but they can be very helpful for not just kind of E. coli type stuff and things, but digestive health, hormonal health, everything, because when the digestive system is out of whack, everything else is out of whack. So that's definitely something to consider. There is a company called Micro Labs in the States, but they do sell some of their stuff in Europe as well. And they have developed spore biotics. I want to say spore probiotics, but it's not. It's spore biotics. And I, like I said, I think they're very helpful for a lot of people for a lot of things, because there are certain good bacteria that it's really difficult to repopulate in the digestive system, because of we all either don't have it in our diets anymore, or we don't eat the right food that it's in, or we keep depleting it with medications and things like that. So there's quite a few things there. So hopefully some of that you'll find helpful, and let me know how you get on with that as well. So if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask, or if you have any questions about anything I just said as well, maybe some of it is relevant to you. Maybe some of it you want to know more about. Feel free to ask, because if not, I will just keep talking about this. So anyway, this book is out tomorrow. If it would be lovely if as many people as possible could buy it tomorrow, because that helps with the ratings on Evil Amazon. It is available all over the world on all the Amazon sites, and yeah, it's full. It's actually takes you through 12 weeks, so you can track yourself for 12 weeks. But the whole beginning of it, I don't know if you're going to really be able to see in here, but the whole beginning of it is the things I feel are important for health. And then kind of most of the rest of it is ways to track yourself, how you're feeling mentally, physically, spiritually, everything, every week and every day. And there's even like check-in pages. There's lots of pretty pictures of things in here, because I'm quite, of course there are chickens, and then actual trackers to track the whole month as well. So yeah, that's the book. Oh, I have another question. Thank you, Faye. If I'm not digesting food, is there any point in buying spore biotics? Yes, because they will get to where they need to be, and help to heal the digestive system. So they will be helpful for basically helping you absorb your food. But things that help us absorb food are zinc. Often we are deficient in zinc when we're not absorbing our food. If we've got constant diarrhea, or upset stomachs, or you're not eating very much, or things like that. If you know for sure you're not absorbing your food, then zinc would be a good one before meals if you can. Ox bile is a big one, and it's clean, it's an easy one to take. You don't want to take it forever, but it's very helpful for helping us adapt to a healthier, more natural way of eating. And that would be one that is a really high in proteins and fats, and removing carbohydrates and things like that. So ox bile is a great one for adapting back to the way we should be eating and the way that is most helpful for us. And you shouldn't get too much of a reaction from it, particularly if you start small, like take half a tablet or something and then build up. And then usually after a few weeks, or maybe a month or two, you can start to peter off of it again, because your body should be starting to adapt. There are many other things that you could be slightly deficient in that are hindering your body's ability to uptake food. But I would always start with those, because they're nice and simple, and they help most people most of the time. And if you find ox bile's no good for you just before food, you can take it after. You can try taking it after food. If that doesn't work, some people take it during. But the spores you would also take, during one of your meals, or at the very end of one of your meals. And again, with all of any supplement or anything, you don't really want to be on it long term. If you are, maybe there's something else, another problem behind it, there's some root cause that needs addressing. And they're just a stepping stone, so that they can help your body to adapt to being healthier again. Basically, our bodies have adapted to living in this not so healthy society, eating not so healthy foods, eating on the go, stress, all of those sorts of things. So our body's doing an amazing job at adapting to and helping us through these stressful times that we've put it through. But sometimes it just needs a little bit more support, just for a little while. So, I'm not big on taking supplements long term. But as I said, because I feel that there must be something else, a root cause to whatever's going on. But yeah, short term, to get over a hump or a hurdle, I think is very beneficial. And the spore biotics, that's what you would do. You would take a course of them, start small, build up. There are several ones that you can take together. There's like a kit. And then once you've done the healing stage, as it were, then you can just go on to a management dose for a while, and then eventually you should be able to peter off of them. The only reason I would say to go back on some things is if you know that you've had to have antibiotics or steroids or some other medications that have upset your beautiful microbiome in your body again. And that's the same for a lot of things. If we've had to do or been through something that has caused a lot of stress, a lot of dysregulation, then maybe there's a need for a bit of extra support for some time as well. And if you can tolerate it, something like fulvic minerals, like a really natural mineral, there's nothing nasty in that, or there shouldn't be. So always look for a clean one. It's just the minerals that we would get from spring water normally, which we don't. And even if we do drink spring water these days, it's always distilled, filtered, so it doesn't have the minerals in it. So, definitely if you think you're not absorbing food, that's another way to, get those minerals up, because you put it in liquid, in a drink or something. And yeah, if you're not absorbing, you're definitely not, you almost certainly don't have enough of all the minerals then as well, which is obviously then causing other problems probably. So yeah, a good clean fulvic mineral, just like nature intended, can be very beneficial until the digestive system starts to heal and we start to absorb everything we need from our food again. And that's always the aim, is moving to a place where we're getting everything from our food or other ways that we fuel ourselves. So as I said earlier, that is food, but that is also the light, the air, the earth, the environment, and our thoughts as well. And they're all pretty much as equally as important as the food is. So when we break that down, food would be focusing on things like I said earlier, fats and proteins. We are designed to fuel ourselves on fats and proteins, and we've adapted to fueling ourselves on carbohydrates and sugars. And that makes for upset hormones, upset sleep, upset mood, always searching for another fix, another thing that's going to kind of give us a dopamine hit. And cutting out those kind of carbohydrates and sugars as much as possible, because they're not healing us. No matter what anyone says, they're not our natural food source, and I know that's difficult for some people to hear, but it definitely was for me, having been vegetarian, a high carb, high superfood consumer for over 30 years. Um, when I realized what I was doing to myself and that I'd come down with a load more illnesses again, it was very difficult for me to get my head around that, but it makes a huge difference. It's turned my health around. I don't have any of these serious health conditions anymore, and I see it happening to all my clients all the time as well. When they can ditch the carbs and the sugars and just fill up on fats and proteins and vegetables, and there's so many other things out there that we can eat that isn't carb, that isn't sugary. So that would be what I would say is the ideal way to fuel our body with food. But the other ideal ways to fuel our body is with the light that's around us. So these pesky screens are not good for us. When I'm working at the computer, I usually have blue light blocking glasses, so I know it's a thing, it's a gadget, but we use these things minimally we use them when needed so that we can live and do the things we want to live and do in this crazy society. So if we want to be at screens, then I highly recommend blue light blocking glasses. Or if you have a lot of LED lights, that kind of thing in your house, then also blue light blocking glasses. So during the day, I wear clear or yellow, and that helps to wake you up actually. And they don't block out quite as much of the blue light. And then as the day goes on, you can change to orange and then red, and the red block out almost all of the blue light. So the blue light is coming from any screen you're looking at these days, so phones, tablets, computers, TVs, and all the LED lights as well are affecting us. So you can change back to old-fashioned light bulbs. Instead of LEDs, you can use red lights, candles. It's actually really beautiful because it helps us to be more natural again, to fuel ourselves, to not just to fuel ourselves in a more natural way, but to just to feel cozy and settled, and all the lovely fluffy stuff that we want to feel all the time in our own home. So behind this screen on two sides, I have two big candles burning, and all the light bulbs in this house are old-fashioned ones as well, instead of LED. And like I said, when I look at the screen, I'm wearing my blue light blocking glasses so that I'm not affected by the blue light that interferes with our circadian health, which interferes with every other aspect of health. That basically screws with our mind, screws with our hormones, screws with our digestive system, our sleep, everything. So it's trying to minimize the damage, as it were, that these things are doing to us, and making sure to get outside as much as possible. So if you can't get outside, then blue light blockers are really important. But if you can get outside as much as possible and getting sunrise in the eyes, sunlight, sun or the light, it doesn't have to be sunny, sunset in the eyes and on the skin, and not wearing sun creams and all these toxic, horrible things, and really, trying to get outside for as close to sunrise and as close to sunset as possible. But I know that's not always possible with everyone. It's certainly not to start with. But sometimes you could just open the window, stick your head out. It can just be for a few seconds. You don't have to be out there for half an hour. You can do it and then go back to bed. Whatever way works for you, basically, to help your body heal in the most natural way. We were designed to be outside, to be connected to nature, to be connected to the earth, to be under the sun, all of these sorts of things. And we're doing barely any of it anymore. And then we wonder why we're all ill. So the light is really important. Earlier this year, I actually started to make an effort. I used to wear glasses, and I actually started to make an effort to not wear the glasses at sunrise, which made everything a bit blurry because my eyes were very tired then as well. But after 3 months, I was not wearing glasses anymore. My eyes had corrected themselves. So that just shows me yet again how important living in as natural a way as possible is. And that also includes, the ground, the earth. We are, as I just said, designed to be connected to nature in as many ways as possible, as often as possible. And that means putting our feet on the ground, or if we can't do that, maybe it's snowy where you are or it's freezing, then hugging a tree. Literally, the hippies knew it. It helps our health. Getting your skin on the tree in some way, or if that's not doable, just touching the ground with your hand. Every time you go out, making a connection in some way to the earth. How we would have slept, we would have eaten, we would have procreated, we would have been doing everything on the earth, and now we do nothing. Even these barefoot shoes, most of them don't actually connect us to the earth. So it's really important that we touch the earth in some way as often as possible. Even if you can't get out every day, is when you do get out, just touch it, just even for a second. Just touch the earth or a tree or a shrub or something. Even that second is beneficial. Any which way we can touch the earth diffuses the electromagnetic stress that we're no doubt suffering from. It helps with our mitochondria. It helps with our circadian health. And as I said, that affects every other aspect of health, because the circadian clock is running the show on all the other clocks in the body. So it's helping on so many levels. And then the other thing is water, which I already mentioned, is like making sure that you have clean mineralized water, not tap water. If it's filtered, then putting fulvic minerals or something like that back in, so that you've got the minerals that you would naturally have been getting from your water. If you have a spring anywhere near you, then getting yourself or someone else to collect water from the spring. Just trying to consume things and be part of nature in the most natural way that we can, and obviously letting go of the times when we can't. There is no point in getting ourselves stressed and agitated and overwhelmed and dysregulated because we think we need to do and tick all these boxes in exactly the right way to get well. Well, that's not how we get well. If getting well is making you stressed, it's not helping you. And that's a fact. If your regime or routine or whatever it is like 30 things long every day, and it's really stressful, and you're sitting down to meditate and you're stressed about it, and you're wondering if you're doing everything right or if you should be doing more things, then you're doing too much and you're not doing everything right, as it were, because you've made it stressful. And I know, because I've been there and I was like that. That's why when I wrote the second edition of my book, Living a Life Less Toxic, I put a new chapter in the back, and it was called when being less toxic becomes toxic. When you start stressing about the chemicals in things or the air you're breathing or whatever it is, yes, these things are all important, and yes, if we can do something about it, it's good to do that. However, if it's at the expense of our sanity, our nervous system regulation is not helping us, it's doing the opposite. So if you're finding yourself really stressed and overwhelmed by what you're doing for your health, then take it back a step or two or 10. Simplify, let go, make it natural. What can you do what things can you do without them being stressful? That's a good question to ask yourself. What can I focus on without it being stressful? What can I easily do? What is not triggering for me? Focus on what you can do instead of what you cannot, and don't waste any energy on the stuff you really cannot. Because regulation is such an important foundation for health. And that brings me round to the next thing that's fueling us, and that's our thoughts and our nervous system. It's all kind of bouncing off of each other, both of those things. It's our nervous system has done an amazing job, a really amazing job at protecting us for all of our lives. We are still here. We're all together on YouTube. You might not be feeling the way you're feeling, but it's got you here. You may not be feeling the way you want to feel, but it's got you here. It's remembering that as well. We give our bodies such a hard time for how we're feeling, and why is it not better? Why I've tried everything, I'm doing everything, why is this happening? And sometimes hating on our body in many ways, but actually it's done exactly what it's designed to do. It's designed to protect you and to get you, to help you live, even if that is at a minimal level, for as long as possible. So it's actually really good if we thank it, if we find things about it to be grateful for, if we are talking to it in a much more loving, nourishing, nurturing way, and working on building, on being more regulated in our nervous system, but also then on slowly building resilience so that we can deal with being in this crazy world that we're in without being triggered left, right, and center, and that affecting our health all the time. So, that's a really important part of fuel and of our fuel, because you've probably all noticed it. It's every time you're stressed, you might have a spurt of energy because the adrenals are doing their job, but generally you will feel exhausted. You'll feel wiped out. You'll feel fatigued in many, many ways. And also then, our digestive system stops working as effectively, our hormones, everything again. So it's not one thing that we're focusing on for health. And that's also, I think where we go wrong a lot. We think, oh, my digestive system is screwed, I need to work on that. But the digestive system could be screwed because the nervous system is screwed, or the nervous system could be screwed because the digestive system is screwed, vice versa. Or it could be because of circadian health, because that also affects those things. So it's working as a whole. We're not prescribing one thing for one part of the body. That's a very allopathic way of working. We're looking at the whole thing, and I really believe that the whole thing is how we fuel ourselves in a more natural way. Like I keep saying, the food, the thoughts, the environment, the light, the air, the earth. and making sure that we do what we can where we can. Different. If we can't get outside so much, for instance, then we focus more heavily on the other ones. So we focus more heavily on the food. We focus more heavily on maybe having good air in the house, or on the lights, on the screens, those sorts of things. But if we are getting outside more, then maybe we don't need to focus so heavily on some of the other things. So it's really seeing what you're able to do at the moment, and what, like I said, what is also not stressful, not triggering for you to do at the moment, and to focus on those things and let go of the others until you feel strong enough to do the other stuff as well, until you feel that you have more resources and you're able to incorporate more of the other stuff. And as you incorporate more of the other stuff, obviously we start letting go of the hacks, as it were, the blue light blocking glasses and things like that. We don't need those so much, because everything else is more in equilibrium. It's all where it should be. So if you're not able to do a few of them, then focus on much more heavily on the things you can do. If you can't get outside, and so you're not grounding, you're not able to eat in the way that is most desirable for our body or something, then really focusing on the other stuff, the water, the thoughts, the environment, the light inside the house, those sorts of things. And I think I really feel that this is why some cultures appear to thrive on different foods and things like that, than other cultures, is because they are prioritizing being outside more. They're prioritizing sunshine more. They're prioritizing grounding, more, not always intentionally, but they are maybe farming, so they're gardening and stuff, so that they're ticking a lot of those boxes, but maybe a vegetarian and still doing okay, but because they're doing all the other things, so I think that's why some people thrive on something, kind of some lifestyle changes, and other people don't, because it is really important about all the other ways that we are fueling ourselves. It's, even if you ate the best diet ever, you're all organic, grass-fed, grass-finished, animal proteins, fats, no oxalates, no histamine stuff, all of these sorts of things. But you spend 10 hours a day in front of a computer without blue light blocking glasses on, then I think you're still going to find that you have quite a lot of health problems, and vice versa. So if you're wearing the blue light blocking glasses and you've got rid of the LED lights and you ground every day, but you're eating absolute rubbish, you're only going to get so far. So it's doing the bits that feel doable to you, and maybe it's not doable for you to eat lots of proteins, but maybe it is to eat more fat. Maybe you can't possibly give up every single carbohydrate, but maybe you could at least give up some of the worse ones, some of the processed ones, and some of and having it daily, those sorts of things. So it's not about being perfect. None of us are perfect. We're human. We all have cravings, and we all have bad days or bad weeks. It's just doing what we can where we can to make changes, to to move in the direction that is one where our body most easily thrives. And that's, like I said, that's what I talk about in this book, are the ways that I believe from, all my health, many health problems that I've had over the years, and working with an awful lot of clients now as well, the ways I see that people thrive most easily, is by considering all the ways that our body gains fuel. And as I said, that is food, thoughts, environment, light, air, water, earth. Have a comment or a question? Hi, Faith. That's fascinating about your eyesight correcting itself in 3 months. Can you talk a little more about that? Do you have any suggestions for eye health? Yeah, great question. Thank you. So I've been wearing glasses for a little while now, or was. And every time I went, which was every year to have a checkup, it was getting worse. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Also where I live in Portugal, glasses are insanely expensive for some reason. They're crazy expensive here. And I was like, this is insane. So many years ago, I actually corrected my vision by using the Bates method. So you can look that up. There's books about that, and there are practitioners about that. So I corrected it many years ago using that method, and then didn't wear glasses for quite a few years, and then had to start wearing them again. And as I said, it kept getting worse, and I was like, this can't be right. And they say, oh, it's your age. And like, well, every year I need stronger glasses. By the time I'm 50 or at least 60, I won't be able to see at all. I just thought it was crazy. So anyway, I have always been quite up on the whole circadian health stuff, but I really pushed it to the next level this last year because I was having a lot of histamine issues, and I kept reading that really working with your circadian health is helpful for those sorts of things as well. So as I said, I decided that because I'm out at sunrise anyway with the animals, I decided I wasn't going to wear my glasses in the mornings, and it was very blurry, and the temptation was very strong to put the glasses on again. But that's the important thing, is getting the light into the eye. And we don't want to do it, be staring at the sun or the sunrise at any other time of the sunrise, at any other time of the day, apart from sunrise and sunset, when it's at its less intense. So I didn't really kind of stand and stare at the sun rise, but as I'm doing the animals and walking the dogs and things like that, I would constantly look up and kind of look at it for a few moments here and there. And after about 3 months, I thought, I hadn't really paid a huge amount of attention before that. I just thought, I don't need these glasses anymore. I can see when I'm driving. I could see the number plates, and things in the mornings weren't blurry anymore. So I'm very happy with that. And I'm sure it has been helping the histamine issues as well. But it helps everything, because it's helping to regulate the circadian rhythm, your circadian health. And as I said earlier, that is regulating or running every other clock in the body. So it's helping you to absorb more because it's helping your digestive system. It's helping balance your hormones. It's helping your sleep. It's helping your mood. Everything in the body is being helped by any way that we can help our circadian rhythm. And that is eating real food. That is going to bed as close to dark as possible. I know that's not always doable, particularly in the winter. Getting up for sunrise, at least trying to look at sunrise and sunset, or as close to as possible. And earthing, grounding ourselves on the earth. These things are really important for circadian health. And these screens completely screw with our circadian health. That's why often people are tired and wired when they go to bed. It's from staring at the screens, not only because of the interaction on them and the flickering and stuff, but because of the blue lights in themselves and the way that affects our circadian health. And the same if we look at a screen in the night, or if we look at a screen first thing in the morning before we look at the sunrise, that's all screwing with our circadian health. If you look at a screen before you look at the light outside, that affects the amount of melatonin that you produce that evening. That's how it all works in balance. How it's all is beneficial for the circadian health. It's not just what we're doing just before bed, it's what we're doing when we first wake up as well. And that's why the blue light blocking glasses, if you really must look at a screen first thing or whatever, are really important. Wearing the clear ones early on in the day, they actually will help to wake you up, whereas, as I said before, the red and orange ones later on in the day actually help you to go to sleep, because they help the body to know it's bedtime and it should be producing melatonin. But when we stare at a screen or we sit under LED lights, it thinks the opposite. It thinks it's still time to wake up. So that's a massive part of helping us sleep better, as well as the nervous system regulation as well. But just allowing our eyes and our skin as well, we get all this through our skin as well as our eyes, to signal to the rest of the body it's time to go to sleep, or it's time to wake up, or just really simple things like that. So if you are looking at screens, then that's a hack that a biohack as they call it, that I would advise, is the blue light blocking glasses. Or you can get screens that go on the screen itself that dim it and things. You can also get apps that do it. But if you're sitting under LEDs, you're getting it from that as well. And in general, just for eye health, definitely the blue light blocking glasses, definitely more fats. When we're consuming fats and making that our fuel instead of carbohydrates, the body can start to repair at a cellular level. So if you feel like you are aging before your time, then you probably are, because we're not fueling ourselves in the most optimal way. But we can de-age, if that's even a word, by fueling ourselves in the optimum way. There are so many things that my body has healed through consuming fats and proteins over carbohydrates and sugars over the last few years now. It's crazy. I had a cyst in my jaw since in my 20s, I think. It's gone. I had a back injury from when I was in my teens, which has always flared up, always a problem, particularly this time of year in the winter. It's gone. These things that we think that we're stuck with because we're aging, or we had an injury, or had a problem in some way, they can all disappear when we fuel ourselves in the correct way, because our body is able to heal these things where it never could before. So we're not stuck with these things that we may have had for a really long time. They can heal after decades, and including eye health. There are many people out there now that have corrected their eye health through looking at the sunrise and sunset, and or fueling themselves with fats over carbs, so the body can heal at a cellular level. And it really is amazing that over time that we can de-age ourselves, when, you know, I think everyone thinks these days that when you're in your 40s and stuff, which is where I am, that's it. We're getting old, things are starting to fall apart, you're going to be more achy, that kind of thing. That's not true, and we're not designed for that to be happening. We were they've proven that we're designed to live to a much, much older age, without being decrepit, than we actually are. And it's because we are so removed from nature now. We're all nature deficient, and that so many people are feeling old already. I've got this arthritis, or I've got this pain, I've got this, it's my age. It's not. These things can disappear, and they shouldn't be there in the first place. Early menopause, all sorts of things. They're not. They shouldn't be happening to us already. And if they are, then that means that we're not fueling ourselves in the most natural way. And making a few changes can help so much. It's crazy that the amount of health conditions that are cleared up, serious health conditions, autoimmunity, heart conditions, thyroid conditions, all of those sorts of things. Those are the things that I cleared up, that are completely gone, as well as, cysts and injuries and gristle that I had in some tissue in my body from decades ago as well, all gone. And this is not just me. This is happening to loads of people all over the world every single day, when we fuel ourselves in the most optimum way for our animal side. We forget we're animals. And if we put a lion in a house, in a box, and gave it food to eat from a box, and looked at another box on the wall all day, it would start to deteriorate mentally, physically, spiritually. And that's what we've been doing to ourselves for, I don't know how long, since, I don't know, agriculture, since this big agricultural revolution, or somewhere around then, that we've been basically slowly, killing ourselves off, by convenience, opting always for convenience over health. And also, if you go down the conspiracy theory route, of also opting for, well, not opting, but believing the people that are telling us that we have to do things a certain way to be healthy, but those are the same people that are obviously benefiting financially in many ways from us buying their medications and things from them, and also now supplements. A lot of the pharmaceutical companies and things now own a lot of the supplement companies, because they've realized that people don't want to have their rubbish anymore. But anyway, that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down, maybe another day. But it's listening to our body. That's the main thing, is listening to our body. And I think we can agree that most people don't feel very good a majority of the time. And we've tried everything, and we've done everything, and we've done the latest diet and the latest gadget and the latest weird and wonderful detox or program or protocol. But what we haven't done is just being human, is remembering we're animals and we're human, and we need connection to our own body, our own nervous system. That's super important, and that's how we help to heal the nervous system, to each other, to community, to nature, to to the most natural, simple, seasonal, primal foods. And the same with the light throughout the year changing. And, in the summer months, we would have more light and it would be stronger because we need more energy and things. In the winter, we're trying to push ourselves to do more. It's crazy. December is crazy because everyone's eating rubbish. They're socializing tons. They're super stressed about presents and things, but this is not natural for us, is it? And I'm really feel drawn to kind of cozy, snuggly times by the fire and hot drinks and more depth and more slowness and more going inward, and not this craziness of the season that we find ourselves in. And when we listen to our body and what it needs and we move with that, we thrive. When we go against that and we decide, no, we've got to do a million things and we're going to completely ignore how we feel and we're going to socialize tons and drink alcohol and eat tons of sugar, it's no wonder that everybody gets to Christmas Day and feels shocking, full of colds and flus, digestive problems, already feel really sick, stress, overwhelmed, emotional wreck. And then everyone says, I hate Christmas. Well, no, we just hate the version of it that we believe that we need to live to be in society. But that's also part of healing, is listening to our nervous system, having boundaries, speaking up, and really being drawn or being guided, by our nervous system. Our nervous system is a compass. And if it feels unsafe, if it feels unheard, it's going to ramp up the way it feels it needs to protect us. And that will be through pain and discomfort and loads of ways we don't want to feel, but it's just our nervous system saying to us something is wrong and something needs to change. It's not that there's something wrong with our body, that we need to stick another plaster on it or bandage or whatever it is, or take another pill. It's our body, our nervous system speaking to us and saying something is really wrong. We are not fueling ourselves in the most natural way. We are not listening to the body. We are that lion that I mentioned just earlier, trapped in a box, looking at a box, eating out of boxes. It's not natural for us. And so we focus on the things that we can change about our day-to-day lives to be more natural, to be more human, to be more animal again, and understand that this is what helps us to thrive. This is how we move from surviving to thriving in this crazy ass world, which is the book. So we're coming to an end. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them quickly. But this book covers everything that I've mentioned today and more. I wanted to write this book for people that weren't able to have coaching or weren't able to see me in one way or another, or for whatever reason, or that were having coaching but lose their way easily sometimes. I wanted to write something, put everything into one book that people could easily follow, that they could easily dip in and out of, that you can understand why certain things are important and why and how to let go of other things, that how that's important, that we don't stress about the things we really can't do anything about. And that's why I made this book. And as I said, it's out tomorrow. And it would be super lovely if some of you bought it tomorrow. As I said at the beginning, that's how evil Amazon works. It will be bumped up all the pages and recommendations and things that, if a lot of people buy it on the same day, so sometimes we have to play the game, eh? Thank you, Faith. I have enjoyed your chat and I'm looking forward to reading your book. Thank you. So that's all for today. If anyone's got any quick questions, queries, anything like that, you will be able to watch this again if you need to. If there's any information that you feel you missed or anything, this will be up on my website, not on the website, on the YouTube channel, almost immediately, if YouTube is playing ball. And yeah, if you have any other questions or queries, you want to reach out, just go to my website. The link will be below this video. There's loads of free content on YouTube. There's loads of free content on my website. There's also a free course, and also lots of very what's the word? I don't want to say cheap. It's a horrible word, isn't it? There's lots of economically priced things on the website as well. I hope the book will do well. Nice to see you looking so well. A great example of your teachings. Oh, thank you very much. I hope it will do well too. I really do feel that the contents of it make such a big difference. It's turned my life around. It's turned the lives of many of my clients around, many of my friends and family as well. And it's just going back to our true nature, going back to the way that we humans are meant to live as much as possible. We don't all want to live in caves. But, we do what we can, where we can, to be as natural as possible. And that's how we thrive. That really is how we thrive. It's not about weird and wonderful things and gadgets and gizmos and pills and potions and lotions and stuff like that. There may be some need for some of that in the interim until we've gained more strength. But it's about being as natural as possible with as many things as possible each day of our lives. And then we don't need all the rest, whatever that is. So thank you all for joining, for interacting as well. And yeah, I will hopefully catch you all soon. Take care. And I hope you enjoy the book. Please let me know as well about the book. I would love to hear some feedback about it. I'll speak to you all soon. Ciao.